Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the BitcoinMeister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Today is January the 29th, 2021. Strong hand, long-term thinking. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin, unconfiscatable. This game is not rigged. Don't FOMO on altcoins. I am offended by selling. Hello, my elite friends watching this live on this beautiful day. How's everyone today? We've got you three awesome guests here. Best freaking guest in the space. Look at all four of us here, baby. It's going to be a wild one. Kaz Baiko makes his debut. Reed Womack is here, and Guy Swan. They both return to the show. We're going to start it off with Guy Swan. The biggest financial news of the year, it's been a short year, it's only been 29 days, is this WallStreetBets thing that's going on. It is wild. A lot of people have a lot of different takes on, it's uniting people, it's dividing people. It can all be tied into Bitcoin and to the kind of people's predictions for what was going to happen with the financial system, but no one could exactly predict this. So Guy, give us and let me just read you something that Guy Swan wrote that was very inspirational here. What is here? God, what did you say? I have it written down. It was from his podcast that he just did. What do you say? This is the war. One thing's the battle, and one thing's the war. I can't even find the quote here, dude. What did you exactly say, guys?
It was actually based on a friend of mine who only recently, apparently he's been kind of loose. I mean, I've been dropping breadcrumbs for like 8 years. He's one of my best friends. And he just recently has just been started texting me randomly about Bitcoin every time he hears about it. But he saw a meme on Instagram. And it's the title of yesterday's show, actually, that was released late at night, that GameStop is the battle and Bitcoin is the war.
Yes, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Well, explain to us what happened here with this WallStreetBets.
Okay. So WallStreetBets, I mean, I'm sure everybody knows it's just a subreddit where a bunch of stock trading degens get together and share ideas and talk about stuff and hate on each other and post their loss porn and all that good stuff. And it's 2 million of just crazy people now. Actually, as of a week later, it's like 5.3 million of those crazy people because it's been a little bit busy recently. So this all started with a discovery by Deep Value. Was his name, and this person was buying GameStop some time ago because its stock price had been falling, and it was actually an unsustainable move. He was actually betting against some major players that were trying to manipulate the price down, and so this leads to. There's something called short selling. And I explained it kind of like in the episode yesterday. I was actually missing a critical component of it. I explained like kind of a short option and then tried to explain what a short sell was more broadly. But basically the idea is that if you borrow stock from somebody, and the company in question, the hedge fund in question that did this was Melvin Capital. And if you can borrow stock and sell it on the market. So if I think the price of a stock is right now it's $10 and I think it's going to go to $1, I can borrow the stock from somebody and pay a little bit of interest and sell it for $10 and then sit on the cash, wait for it to fall to $1, and then pay off my loan by buying it back at $1. I made $9, right? And all I had to do was pay whatever the interest was in between. That's a short sell. And what Deep Value noticed was that the short positions in GameStop, and this is actually something that this shows you just how rigged the whole system is, because this is something that has happened for a long time. They even tried to do this with Overstock back in the day to try to drive it out of business. But it's basically a way to put massive selling pressure against a company without having to back it with anything. And what he noticed was that 140% of the stock was sold short. What that means is that they're creating fake shares. They're creating paper shares that don't actually exist, and then betting. It's literally almost like inflating the stock. Like it's ironically, it's how the foundation of our financial system works. It's basically the same mechanism. Is that they were borrowing shares that didn't exist just so that they could push the price down so that their other shorts were profitable. They're able to create fake shares, and it's illegal. I mean, if you just look it up on Investopedia, the first line is that naked short selling is an illegal practice that blah, blah, blah. But somehow, because they're all in this insider club and they all just rely on each other, and they set their own agenda, and the politicians don't care as long as they get their pay. I mean, they're all in the same building, right? That they get to, they're just cheating. They're just cooking the books to push this stock price down. And they've done this to bury the price and actually push companies out of business. This has been going on for years, like decades. And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse as time goes on. And so this rando on the subreddit noticed this, and they were like, oh shit, we could short squeeze this guy. And because here's the thing, is that they have a ongoing liability. You know, the upside potential here is that if it goes from $10 to $1, I make $9. But the downside, so the most I could possibly do if it goes to zero is $10, right? But the downside is infinite. If it goes to 100, I've lost 90. If it goes to 200, I've lost 190. You just keep going. And there was actually something called, so I was thinking of it as a short squeeze, which is when basically the market starts going against them so badly that they have to fulfill the order. Like now they have to pay off these shares, but they don't even have the shares. The shares literally don't even exist. And it's not even as bad as you would. I mean, it's actually way worse than you would think. So when you see 140% on the market shorts, it's not that they're 40% over leveraged, because like 70% of the stock, 80% of the stock isn't in the market. Like it's off in some fund or in somebody's like ownership pool or whatever. Like, so it's actually more like a 300 to 500%. Like the amount of fake shares here relative to the market depth is massive. So they can't buy it. It's not only is it that they have to buy up shares even at like $100 or $200 a pop, but the shares don't even exist to do so. But what I found out was that the thing that actually happened even before the short squeeze that started to kick this off, because all these people on Reddit after Deep Value was pushing this for like 6 months, and slowly people started taking it more and more seriously, and they're like, oh, this guy might actually be onto something. And then this price started to tick up, and it started to put increasing pressure. And then enough people jumped on board on the subreddit, and suddenly this was just a rally cry. Suddenly this was like a let's wipe them out. Like this is such a clearly a rigged thing. We could just hold this and never let them fulfill their shares. If we buy it all and don't sell it to them, they can do nothing but lose everything. And then suddenly that was the narrative. And when we hit what was referred to as a gamma squeeze, which the market makers, here's the thing, the element that I didn't understand is it's not just Melvin that has to buy shares to cover their stock or to cover their shorts. But the market makers themselves, the one that write the shorts, write the contracts, have to be market neutral. So if it goes heavy in one direction, like if they're writing way too many shorts in the market, like they did, 300, 500%, whatever the actual amount on the market was. If they write too many, well, then that means that if it starts to go against them, the only way for them to have a neutral position is to buy essentially calls, to buy the stock in reserve so that they're not too heavy shorts or too heavy longs. So the actual market makers were having to buy the stock in massive proportions because they just aren't allowed to have a side in the market. And because it was rehypothecated to the short side, as soon as the trade started to go against them, they had to buy like just massive amount of shares at market price. And then you just get this green candle that just goes to the freaking moon. And it was, I mean, like in September, sometime like in the middle of last year or whatever, the stock price was in like the $3 range. Today it's like $245. And just like 4 or 5 days ago, it was like $17. I mean, just the hockey stick is just absolutely absurd. Just go back and like look at like the 7-year chart, and it's absolutely comical. And this just became this massive protest. Like, this was the ultimate sticking it to the man. Some of the posts on the WallStreetBets is like the most like blood boiling, like like Viking yell cry, like rally cry shit. Like, it is absolutely amazing. And I've been wildly entertained by it. And got all riled up on yesterday's episode trying to make sense of all this mess. But it's been a heck of a show.
Yeah. Now, so the big takeaway is here: the Reddit guys discovered something that was not cool. The 140%, not cool at all. They figured out a way to spin it in their advantage to make a lot of money off of this, and at the same time to humiliate them, embarrass them, show the world that there was some illegality going on there too. And it worked out quite well. Well, now some people are quite frustrated with the situation. They did nothing wrong. They did nothing wrong at all. It was a great financial opportunity they took advantage of. So what has happened since then? We have calls from all around some people are congratulating them. Some people are calling for regulation. Some there's bailouts. Who knows? What's the story now, and how does it relate to the current monetary system and Bitcoin?
Well, it's impossible for it to have been it's absolutely impossible for it to have been manipulation. Like on like Robinhood or whatever, there's nothing but a buy and sell button. Like, that's it. Those are the things that you're allowed to do in the market. Those are the non-manipulation things. If you're buying or you're selling, you're solid. So there's absolutely no way the retail market was quote unquote manipulating. If they think that getting together in a subreddit to talk about what they're doing is manipulation, well then, holy crap! What the establishment did in response is so blatant, it's unbelievable. They literally just took away the buy button. The very people like Citadel was were market makers in this instance. So they were on the hook as much as Melvin Capital were. And that's why they bailed out Melvin Capital for $3 billion. But at the end of the day, that's what happened is they completely rigged the whole show. They started force closing people's position. They took away the buy button on like 20 different platforms. You just can't buy GameStop. The only thing you can do is pay for our short positions. All you can do is give us money. Oh my God. I'm so mad. I get absolutely infuriated just thinking about how blatant the corruption is.
So all these buy buttons have been taken away for retail, but you'll notice the stock is still trading. Like, it still has a ticking symbol. And so then the question is like, okay, if retail investors aren't able now to make a lot of money off of this, and the short position is still open, it's still at 120% of float, or 120% of the actual stocks shares. So if retail can no longer make a lot of money, pump money in, that means that insiders who are not locked out via Robinhood or E-Trade, those people are still able to make money off this and could push this position even higher to wreck Melvin Capital even more. And so retail just sort of got screwed by a rule change that the hedge funds and Robinhood agreed to, because it was
okay. So now that That term you just used. They changed the rules in the middle of the game. So that's a big takeaway from this. If you're in stock market land, the rules can change in the middle of the game, and I don't see why anyone would want to play in such an area anymore. And it should wake up people's eyes, wake up people to Bitcoin. In my opinion, that's my first tie into Bitcoin. I don't know. How about you, Guy Swan? How are you going to tie it into Bitcoin?
Well, it's rigged. It's just absolutely rigged. And the analogy I used in yesterday's show was that imagine a football game where there's the top players, like there's the ultimate team, the Cantillionaires, and then there's the average Joes. And obviously the average Joes are the underdog. They never get the funding. The refs never call anything for them, even when it's blatantly in their favor. And suddenly they get an interception and run like a 90-yard touchdown. And like at the 1 yard line, they blow the whistle, stop the play, pull all the average Joes off of the field, put the football on the ground, and then say, well we're just going to let the Cantillionaires readjust and recalibrate so that they can deal with this unexpected play. And then they just pick up the ball and run it the other way down the field while the average Joes aren't even on the field. Like that's literally what just happened.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful analogy, guy.
Yeah,
I think it's a beautiful analogy, guy. So I was going to tie it back into Bitcoin because another thing that we haven't mentioned yet is that people had shares that they could have owned, for who knows how long. I mean, you could have owned GameStop stock for a long time. And so then they sold those shares without their consent, basically saying you opted into our terms of service and this is in there. So I think a lot of the legacy world woke up to an important lesson that we talk about all the time in Bitcoin, which is not your keys, not your coins. And what you have sitting in your brokerage account is not in your control. And they can sell it. They can do what they want without your consent.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that. I am glad you brought that up, man. I am glad you brought that up. Huge point. Continue, Reed. You're about to say something.
Oh, just not your keys, not your GameStop. It was brutal to watch people just get liquidated, their positions liquidated at the low. Robinhood just liquidated everyone who owned GameStop, crashed the price, they sold out at like 115 or something. The price rebounded and nobody had any say in it at all. It's just brutal to watch. And a wake-up call that like ultimately in the legacy system, if you don't have the keys to something, you don't own it, one. And two, you aren't really Robinhood's customer. In some ways, Robinhood is more like Facebook, where you are the product. They are selling you and selling your orders to a hedge fund, and that hedge fund is the actual customer. And so when things started moving against the hedge fund, Citadel, the hedge fund called up Robinhood and said, shut this down and sell all of your customers' shares. So ultimately, in Robinhood in particular, you are the customer. But then in other platforms, even E-Trade or other retail platforms where you are the customer, even those, they just took away your ability to buy and sell because it was moving. The market was moving against them.
Now the government, there was a press conference, and the president's press conference lady was asked about this, kind of a broad question about, what does the president think about the situation? And man, or what are they going to do? And she gave the weirdest answer, like, there's a female treasury secretary now. That was like the answer. Like, you just gave a woke answer. We have a female treasury secretary, so that's good. That's not solving anything. That's not doing anything. Not that I want the government to but they have no clue what's going on. They don't want to touch this. I think so. Where do you guys think this is going to lead? Is it going to restore? Are regular Joes not going to be allowed to buy stock anymore? Is Reddit going to be shut down? I mean, already the Reddit was shut down for a little bit. These people are being, kind of classified as troublemakers. That they were in the wrong here. Would anyone have a take on it? How's this going to progress? And well, for me, I'm just like, expect the worst. So just get into Bitcoin, but not many people are going to figure. Some people are like, oh well, we can't do this with stocks anymore, so we'll do this with Dogecoin. Oh, okay. But anyone want to take that out?
Bit of a perspective or guess of where this is headed just in terms of GameStop itself, not in terms of Bitcoin. So I'll leave that to Cass and Guy. But now that retail is effectively locked out of buying GameStop, those short positions are still over leveraged. And so now I think that other institutions, other insiders will essentially take over retail's momentum and start pushing Melvin Capital and pushing this GameStop price up until they're forced to short or until they're forced to cover. So in some ways, like retail started the wagon, has been pushed and then got locked out. And now you're going to get the quintillionaires who are able to then finish the job essentially. And so like until Melvin Capital covers their short position, this is an incredibly lucrative investment for some other institution, and I fully expect some other institution that has insider connections will take that up. So that's where I think it's going. I don't think this is the end of the saga. I think it's now just unfortunately retail got rug pulled, and now some other hedge fund is going to make a lot of money off of this.
There's one important point here that I heard. Congrats these retail guys for figuring out this anomaly and taking full advantage of it. But it's very interesting. The other hedge funds seem to have a gentleman's agreement not to do this to one another. You know, when somebody's got 140%, which is a total lie, why don't they call out the other guy? Because they're all doing the same thing, apparently. Anyone could have figured this out on their own and taken advantage of the situation and created this, and it would have ruined Melvin Capital. But perhaps Melvin Capital's competitors just don't get it done to them, or their friends would not. I don't know. There's some insider stuff there, and again, it leads me to why anybody want to be in this? I mean, I don't. Everyone screams for years. It's fixed. It's rigged. It's this. And even if it's not as corrupt as people say it is, there's some shady stuff going on. And when you have an option now to get into something that's totally different, like Bitcoin, where it's all out there, where you can have the underlying asset, where you can really understand what the underlying asset is. I don't know why. I mean, I guess people are just trained to, stock market. I could be a trader. I could be an e-trader, whatever. All right. Kaz, your take on the future. How's this going to end and tying into Bitcoin somehow?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. So I think it fits along perfectly with the Bitcoin narrative that we always go into. I mean, we saw WallStreetBets subreddit either got taken down or went private the other night. Their Discord got banned completely. So we're seeing the beginning of some new companies censoring, and we're seeing that already seep into the financial censorship realm as well. So it's no longer just your voice. It's now your free speech and your money. What you choose to put those things in, your time and your value, what you choose to put that into is now come into question. You can no longer purchase these stocks if you are this type of investor, or you can no longer purchase stocks that hedge funds are short in. So what does that lead to? I mean, does that lead to where the retail investor can no longer own anything? I mean, that's the road to serfdom that, Michael Saylor talks about all the time, is when, the state basically takes away all your options to escape inflation and then debases the money right out from underneath you. Like, what do you do at that point? And then on top of that, I mean, it's really breaking into financial censorship on an entire new level of payments and all of that. So this is the perfect example to introduce all these people to Bitcoin. So I've been heavy on my normie friends. This is the perfect example. I mean, it's Occupy Wall Street 2.0. And it's like everyone's mad at hedge funds, but wait till you realize how messed up central banks are.
It's
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, like what's crazy about this is that you get to see this blow up in this little microcosm GameStop, and Melvin Capital and Citadel and Robinhood, and how closely tied they are to each other, and all the insider trading and the fake shares and all of this stuff, is that looks like a disaster, right? And in some strange way, like somehow we're all like the whole financial system is so fragile that this is literally shaking the foundation of everything. One stock is like threatening to crumble the skyscraper. Like in this case, like, I mean, there's legit talks about needing the Federal Reserve to step in and give people, just throw money at people to save everything over GameStop. And like, it's showing just how fragile everything is. And the question is why? Well, that's because the situation that happened with GameStop and the fake shares and the, hundreds of percent more than what's actually available in the market being sold as, as paper. That's how the entire financial system works. That's how our money works. That's how U.S. treasuries turn into U.S. dollar loans that turn into 10 times as much money on layer 3 at the retail level. Like, the whole thing is this. It just took GameStop, 2 or 3 years to blow up, and it's taking the dollar 30 to 50. It's the same thing on a massive scale. But it's just broken. It's as broken as GameStop is. It's just waiting for the right subreddit to poke a hole in it.
And I think that as the currency,
I want to.
As the currency continues collapsing,
Go ahead.
When currencies do collapse, volatility goes crazy. And so historically, Bitcoin has been the thing that has been incredibly volatile, and people view it as being very volatile. And as we transition onto a Bitcoin standard, we're going to go through this period where, both Bitcoin and the rest and the normie world are volatile, and the fiat world is volatile. And then eventually Bitcoin is much more stable, and the fiat world is incredibly volatile. So I can't predict what the next major episode of volatility is, but this is not at all the end of it. Like, it is going to rip through a bunch of different markets, a bunch of different fiat markets, before people fully convert onto a Bitcoin standard. But volatility is definitely incoming in other places that we traditionally think are relatively stable. And you wouldn't have expected GameStop to go from $3 a share to $350 a share based on its past chart. But you're going to see that happening with other charts that look relatively stable, look sort of normal, and then they have these crazy explosive either spikes or drops, usually a spike. And that's really just a symptom of a currency collapse more than anything. And so you can tell this whole story about Reddit and WallStreetBets, but if you take the bigger step back, it's like, this is a symptom of currency collapse. Prices going through the roof on something random.
You think this is bad news for the dollar, basically?
Yeah, and it'll take.
I'm getting a bad connection here. Okay,
it'll take a while for people to realize that, oh, this is actually just the dollar collapse. This is not like a GameStop pump, because for the narrative is still around GameStop, or AMC, or whatever the like stock pump of the week is. But the deeper issue is the dollar's collapsing, and you don't want to be short. Right. You don't want to be short anything.
Yeah, this is basically this is kind of the end game, right? Is that we're in a place where we can't even move forward without the Fed constantly putting money in everything. They're not the lender of last resort anymore. They're the lender of only resort. Hat tip Nick Bhatia on that one. And not only are they propping up our markets, they're propping up the European markets. And like, everything is so tied together. Like it just literally, we can't sustain any of this without another $2 trillion every 6 months at this point. Like, I mean, it's absolutely absurd. Oh man, I forget his name. I hate it. But there's a really great article that I read on the show. It was from Bitcoin Magazine. I cannot Tibald Marichal had a great quote, is that Bitcoin is a volatile currency for volatile times. And that's literally where we are. And it's only going to get worse priced in dollars, because like you said, the dollar system is literally shaking. I mean, it could still take 10 years to shake out completely, but man, it's a mess.
I got one final question for the panel here. We're comparing this to Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street was forgotten like a year later. Is this all going to be forgotten? All the normies that are up in arms now, are they just going to become compliant serfs again, or is this the beginning of something bigger?
I think that's up to us. I'll hop in on that. I mean, we all create content here. We all speak the word of Bitcoin. And I think it's up to us to use this as an opportunity to frame the narrative that this is what Bitcoin solves. I mean, I had a lot of normie friends, like I already said this earlier, message me yesterday and said, I want to buy Bitcoin. Tell me how. And I said, okay, you did my job for me. But trying to connect the dots between those things for people is still not easy, and not everyone's going to figure that out on their own. So I think us, constantly going back and saying, okay, yes, GameStop may have opened your eyes to this, but Bitcoin is where it's going to lead. This is where Bitcoin is the end goal, and it's inevitable. It's what Elon Musk tweeted, and which we haven't talked about Elon yet, but it's inevitable. So I think it's important for us to step up in this moment and, make it be part of Bitcoin's history. Bitcoin was created in this moment of doubt, after the 2008, financial crisis. So everything that happens in normal financial markets is important in Bitcoin's history, and it's up to us to make that known.
All right, pound that like button. Let's transition into Elon Musk real quick. But no, do you, Guy or Reed, do you have anything to say about the first? Is this going to be forgotten, or will it be just another Occupy Wall Street, or is this really a changing moment in time?
I would say on the broader, if you take a big step back, this is Occupy Wall Street. Like this is that same frustration, that same helplessness. Like this is why the whole subreddit is like holding, like some of these people were holding massive losses and saying, I'm not selling. I'll take this to zero just to screw them. Like just to stick it to them. I'll lose $1 million on this trade. It's like, that's a protest. This is Occupy Wall Street 2.0 that is actually effectual, that is actually doing something and making them mad, like, hitting them where it hurts in their pocketbook. But I'll say the name of the show from yesterday: GameStop is the battle, Bitcoin is the war. I think this is the beginning of something, and it's a delayed extension of what happened in 2008, and it's not going to stop. It's only going to continue to steamroll, and the end game is replace it, or we're stuck,
All right. Good one there. Reed?
Nothing else to add. Well said, Guy.
All right. Well, we're going to start off with you then with Elon Musk. He puts Bitcoin in his profile, and all of a sudden Bitcoin goes up in value. I mean, what's there to say? I mean, I knew for a while if he actually buys it, it is going to create quite a stampede, but this is not him buying it. This is just him saying a word. So is this just a sign of the times about how crazy things have become this week, or what?
I mean, I think that the price move this morning, we routinely get 10% moves in Bitcoin. And so sure, you can chalk it up to saying it was a result of him putting that in his bio, but there are many other things that it could have been the result of, and it frankly could have just been noise. So I'm not that interested in the price movement, but the fact that the richest guy in the world is saying that Bitcoin is inevitable, I think will wake up a lot of people to realize, like, evidently this guy has been incredibly good at capital investing in the last 20 years, and he's now seemingly saying this technology is the future and is likely a good capital investment, which I think will just wake up a lot of people who've been doubters thus far.
All right. Guy, your take on Elon?
Same thing. Everybody comes to it eventually. and in their own way. And I think a lot of people who dismiss it have to take a second look, a third look, a fourth look, and then finally something clicks. Elon has been dancing around it for years at this point. I kind of think he had a conversation with Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor reached out to him to like a couple of times, and Elon, there's absolutely no way. I mean, the likes and retweets on each of them, there's no way that wasn't the one that was the forefront in everything he saw related to his comments about it. I think he already has some. I think maybe Tesla has built a position. I mean, the only time we hear about any of these companies adding it to their treasury is after they're done. You know, like it's like you get an announcement. It's like, by the way, 3 weeks ago we bought 10,000 Bitcoin at this price. Nobody announces it before they do it. Yeah, I mean, I kind of think that's kind of my take on it. Is they all get there eventually, and this is a big it's a billboard, right? There's a lot of people watching Elon and what he does and what he looks at and what he thinks about. And this is just another one of those. It's just a big domino, but it's just another of the many.
All right. I want to thank CS2 for the $5 in the super chat. You guys got questions? Do a super chat. Type in BitcoinMeister. Kaz, your take on Elon.
It's good for Bitcoin. Everything's good for Bitcoin. I had a buddy call me at 3:45 in the morning, and I was worried that something happened. And he calls me and he's like, dude, check out Elon's Twitter. He put it in his bio. I was like, you called me at 4 a.m. to tell me that? I mean, yeah, it's cool. I'm happy. But so I don't have a whole lot to add here. I think it's inevitable. I think it is a little spicy because Saylor is having the conference with all those CEOs. I believe it's next week, where he's basically giving him their playbook at MicroStrategy for how they went about it, all the legal repercussions and how to manage a corporate treasury and purchasing Bitcoin and all the reporting and everything you need to do. So I think it's not too ironic that he does that about a week before. I mean, if you're trying to front run about 500 CEOs that you know are probably going to be putting a position into Bitcoin, now would be a good time to do it. So bullish.
Excellent point, tying it into the Michael Saylor conference there. Very, very good. I like that. Okay, Dogecoin. It's a meme. People were calling the GameStop thing like meme investing also. So these two stories may be related. Nick Carter said Dogecoin is the gateway to crypto. That was a hopeful take from him, because there are a lot of people that are just getting into crypto for the first time because of Dogecoin. I don't recommend that at all. And I think it's if it turns out being a gateway into Bitcoin for people, then okay, it's positive. But I mean, it's like at 5 cents now, or got up to 7 cents. I mean, it's quadrupled lately. I really don't know what to say.
I'll hop in here if you don't mind me going again.
Please.
Yeah. So I said this yesterday. I am a little worried. And again, go back to us as content creators. This is something that we need to stress during this time. Overall, I think it's bullish people going into Dogecoin because all roads lead to Bitcoin. But the important thing to move and realize in this movement, from my perspective, is that these guys are looking at what's happening in the normal financial world and saying, you know, this is messed up and this is corrupt and this is the establishment and this is how they do things. My worry is that they're going to come in and see the price of Bitcoin and they're going to say, look at all these corporations getting into Bitcoin. For us to be anti-establishment, and we need to buy this alt, which is now like Doge. So that's why they're pumping these alts, and you know it would be a lot harder for them to pump the price of Bitcoin, I feel like. So they're not as interested in the long-term perspective as Bitcoin is with these short-term sort of pumps. So I'm using it as yeah, cool. You found Doge. I'm not going to rip you if you're a normie and you found Doge, because I know you'll find Bitcoin later. But just try to keep planting those seeds is what I'm doing. It's like, yeah, I'm not too interested in Doge, but I'm really just interested in Bitcoin.
Yeah, it got up to number 10 on CoinMarketCap too. I mean, this is it's something about the state of the world when people are just, they know they're getting into a pump and dump, and they're just happy about it, because that's what it is. I mean, there's a disturbing level to it, an impulsive, disturbing level. It's very impulsive. I don't think we have long-term thinkers. I mean, that's what Bitcoin's all about. And if people really want to get back at the man, it's very simple. Buy some Bitcoin and forget about it. But people are impulsive. Other two guests, do you have takes on Dogecoin and what it means for society and the Bitcoin space?
So I tweeted out under some thread about it, like yesterday, I think. That Dogecoin is like this phenomenon of people fascinated by pointlessness for its own sake. Like Dogecoin is nothing. Like there's no develop. Like it is literally just a joke. It's just like, oh look, a thing that I can have that doesn't. I mean, it's the whole, it's like, here is a cryptocurrency that's just never going to do anything. It's just always going to be there, and we're always going to laugh about it. And it is a joke. Like it is literally a joke. So why not? It's fun. Like this is the degens of, and that's WallStreetBets, right? They're just, they're masochists. They just throw money at whatever the hell they can throw money at. As far as like, unless you're in that game and you just want to throw money at crap for the sake of throwing money at stuff, don't do it. Don't do it. In fact, I'm embarrassed to say that I tried to do, like, I have froth that I just like to play. Like I got like about $50 worth of a degen in me, and I tried to do like one of those swaps like a day and a half ago for Doge, and the thing got stuck. Like it's just sitting there pending still. I've sent like 4 emails. I was like, really, guys, this is unbelievable. So like, cause I was just like, I'll degen for half a day, and like you just lose it. It's just gone, and like I don't care, like, but it's just like, imagine if that was real money. Somebody might have done that with like $4,000 or something, thinking that they were going to triple their money, and then over the period of that time, it did triple, and then it comes all the way back down. It's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Somebody else has got your money. So when $50 like is that much of a mess, and I'm just playing around just for having fun, you just don't do it. You just don't do it.
It's gambling. It is. If you know you're gambling, well, then you know you're. But a lot of people don't understand that it is a joke.
Literally, yeah.
So you can gamble with the joke, but some people think they're investing. You don't invest in a joke. Now, I want to say Nano Joe sent $5. Thank you, dude. He said, fantastic show. Happy Friday, and God bless. Stacking sats with the super chat. All right. Breed, you were laughing about Dogecoin.
Yeah, I know very little about it. I've never purchased any. That said, I do think that a lot of people go through the path towards Bitcoin of thinking first, the dollar is real money. The dollar is the best money. The dollar has been used as money for 70 years. Let's use the dollar. There can't be other dollars, or there can't be other money. And then they go to a phase of, wait a minute, what the heck is money? This is a joke. Nothing makes sense. The dollar is made up. Why don't we just invest in this other made up money? And then after going through that phase, they go to a phase of realizing that there are actually characteristics that make good money, and learning about those characteristics, and that leads them to Bitcoin. So if people as the gateway drug have to go through Doge and get burned a little bit, I understand that that's a commonly traveled path in understanding what money is.
Excellent. And I do want to say, going back to the original story of GameStop, if people out there want to make investments in terms of like getting back at the man, again, this GameStop, I don't see how the GameStop thing is going to end well at all for the regular common person. I just want to put that out there. The company might be cash flow positive or something like that, but it's not a company of the future. And you've seen how much the quote unquote empire has struck back in terms of this, what they're willing to do. So like, if you got $100 or $200 or whatever, I don't see how you could logically toss it at anything in the stock market at this point. And this is the point in your life that's like, dude, the man is going to win. The man is going to win in terms of stocks. I don't see because they keep changing the rules of the game. So for all the people that see it as an Occupy Wall Street type of protest and are willing to go down with the ship, I don't think it's a ship worth going down on. And that's why I think people should enter the cryptocurrency ship, the Bitcoin ship, which isn't going down. So just wanted to throw that out there. I just wanted to clarify. Because I think this GameStop, it's going down to like where it started. Eventually, it will return to $5. It just will. That's the way. And the powers that be will make sure that it will. So don't be. I mean, you could be angry that Melvin Capital is going to come out a winner on this, because they probably are somehow. But that's just your lesson to go into a game that is not rigged. That's not just a saying of mine. Bitcoin, this game is not rigged. I mean, it's something to really consider here. Okay, just wanted to throw that in there real quick. And let's move on to real quick now. Coinbase is going public. They made it official. It's not an IPO though. It's like a direct offering. I think it's positive. They're going to be able to satisfy the needs of all the altcoin gamblers out there, and it's going to be huge news brought to the space. And I have no problem with them doing this. Compete, don't complain is one of my big sayings here. Kaz, do you have any take on Coinbase going public?
Yeah, it's good for Bitcoin. Overall, it will drive more people back to Bitcoin. And, personally, that's not where I buy Bitcoin, but I realize that some people do. And overall, I think it'll lead more people to Bitcoin, which is good. So good for Coinbase. That's about all I'll say on it.
All right. Reed.
Same feelings, same curt response.
You don't have to like Coinbase. You don't have to like Coinbase to wish them well.
Give them credit where credit's due. Yeah.
Yes,
sure.
Exactly. And Guy Swan.
Yeah. I mean, it's a form of continued legitimization of the market, and the asset and the industry. It's solidifying that we've got a place here. You can't ignore us anymore. This is now Coinbase is a huge company. Clearly Square is involved in this, like all of these institutions and stuff getting involved. The IPO is just kind of another extension of that. But yeah, I'm inclined to think it'll make more people do stupid stuff like buy Dogecoin. But every shitcoiner is just 6 months away from being a Bitcoiner, even if they're reluctantly and angrily doing it because they hate it. They're holding some Bitcoin. So just a matter of time.
Ironic timing with the news, though.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. It was very interesting timing. But I mean, personal responsibility. If you buy Dogecoin, it's your own fault. If you buy GameStop at $400,
absolutely.
Yeah. It never is.
For the record, I'm bullish GameStop. It's just that you can't actually buy it anymore. You've been locked out of the market. But the short squeeze will continue.
Not if they shut it down again. I think they will.
I can't believe it recovered. I was like, oh man. It was like looking yesterday. I was like, oh man, it's gone. And there goes AMC, there goes Dogecoin, there goes, they're all getting pushed back down, But no, GameStop's right back up there. I got some popcorn, man. I'll tell you what.
Oh, it could go way higher, I think. I bet.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet they're straddling positions now, and they're probably in shorts and longs, and they're going to recalibrate and go for as long as they need to until they're out of their short. and drive it up, and then they'll drive it right back down. Who knows how high it goes, but I bet the volatility is not even close to being done.
Dudes, it's someone's going to get caught holding the bag. I mean, it's
musical chairs.
One thing that I tweeted out that I just think is so funny is that nobody's like reached out to GameStop. Like I haven't seen anybody like my tweet was just that like GameStop was just over there minding their own business and like, you know, trying to sell some games and like keep their website running. And there's just a nuclear bomb went off and they're like right at the center of this. And they're like over there, like, what the hell? I was playing Halo and I don't even know what happened.
Dude, watch them come out and acquire a big company or something with all this new capital. It's like GameStop buys Delta Airlines.
They buy Netflix.
There was someone that's saying they can legally issue new stock now, take advantage of the situation.
GameStop bails out Melvin.
Well, okay, so let's go. We got you talking here, Guy Swan. Tell us the latest on Taproot and Lightning. What'll make people excited here?
Okay, Lightning is exciting as always. Taproot is we've got it now, like a couple of versions deep in Bitcoin, and I feel like we're in kind of the last mile in talks of like how I think probably like the next client. I'm really like fingers crossed the next client we get a activation method. Still don't know, haven't seen anything concrete on it. But if you look at Taproot, what are we at right now? Taprootactivation.com, I believe it's .com. Yeah, we are. They've gotten responses from all the major pools and then tons of other even smaller pools, and just verbal support from hash rate is at 91%. So at this point, I'm thinking, you know, if they jumped on it and we did like a 90% activation threshold, even if they did like a 3-year BIP 9, BIP 8, like subsequent activation process that, you know, could take up to 3 or 4 years, I think we'll get it in a matter of weeks. I think as soon as there's an activation method, like as soon as there's a release, we'll be 2 months from all the major mining pools basically jumping on, or at least enough hash power. I hope they do 90% just because we've already got 90%. And then from there, it's 2 weeks from lock in to ready to go. And that's just going to be a huge efficiency boost to like particularly with like as big as like the mempool is and stuff right now, to be able to turn all of the Lightning transactions into one signature, you know, like all multi-sig, one signature. It's going to be really, really cool. And then Brian Harrington actually posted a tweet that I thought was just a fascinating idea. Was, you know, people are talking about looking for yield and like interest, and there's the Lightning pool, which is a new mechanism called a shadow chain is how it works. And it's basically a non-custodial like market maker service for Lightning. So what I can do is like, I can offer up like 1 Bitcoin in liquidity and be like, just match me with whoever wants to pay me 0.01 Bitcoin in interest over a period of 2 months or something like that. And I'll open a channel with them and give them payment liquidity because they're a business and they need to accept a lot of payments. And it creates a rate. It creates a reference rate for having Bitcoin capital. And that's not a small deal. And the fact that you can actually be matched non-custodially, like I'm not having to trust anybody to do this. It's a decentralized service. So Brian Harrington had this idea, is that what if you could actually hold your Bitcoin in a wallet that was a non-custodial service that just automatically put the liquidity where it was needed to, in this like open like market matching, and then just paid you a yield, just paid you interest based on the people who needed it for payments. And you've got a Bitcoin savings that pays interest denominated in Bitcoin. And like you've got an instrument like BlockFi that's non-custodial. And I just that just kind of blew my mind. And I haven't gotten Lightning Pool up and running on my node yet because I'm kind of trying to switch over to Umbrel right now. And so I've still got plenty of things to poke at. But something like a mechanism like that's the thing that could steamroll Lightning in such a huge way. And with something like Strike now on the horizon, like Strike going global, I think this is going to be a hell of a year for Lightning.
All right. People love when you talk about Lightning and you talk about finding out what the rate for Bitcoin is. That's what Nick Baccia predicted a while ago, that Lightning would help determine that. So good for him. Someone brought up Nick Baccia before, but that's what he was very well known for. He had a great article about that. Was it a year or 2 years ago now? I don't know.
Yeah, I've got that one actually, and his second one, both in audio. They're like 200 episodes deep in the show, 200 reads deep. But I'm reading his Layered Money right now. I'm doing the audiobook. I'm about like 2/3 of the way through it, maybe. But it's so good. And he hits all of these things in far more depth in his book. And I'm so jacked. It's called Layered Money. We're probably going to have it out. The book is already available, but we're probably going to have the audiobook out. I'm shooting for before the end of February, but it kind of depends on Audible. They sometimes take a while to approve it.
Okay. Good update there on what you're doing too. We'll get back to you in a second for your final words, of course. Kaz, did you have any, I saw you nodding your head there. Did you have something to say about Lightning or Taproot or anything like that?
No, I don't. I think Guy Swan covered it pretty well.
All right. So we are at the end of the show here. You've made your debut, a glorious debut. I'm so glad you showed up today. Tell us what you're up to. All these guys are linked to below. Best freaking guest in the space. I bring you every freaking Friday here, dude. But tell us what you're doing. People can follow you on Twitter below, obviously. But what's up with you?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's been a great time. You can listen to my podcast, Down the Rabbit Hole with Kaz Baiko. And I'm also just joined the team with Swan Bitcoin. So my buddy Reed here. So
I saw that. Swan. Congratulations, by the way. That's awesome.
Hey, thank you, Guy. Appreciate it.
Dude, man, Swan is all over the place. So when I ask these Coinbase questions, that's why I get these big smiles. I'm not trying to get Swan dudes on my show, but they're everywhere. You guys have done such a great job of infiltrating, or just hiring a lot of people, or just being affiliated with so many people. Every week I got a Swan guy on. Every week, and they're great. You guys are all awesome.
Swan is like the quintessential like Bitcoin company. It's the Bitcoin ethos. It's like they do nothing but hire like serious Bitcoiners. If you don't have the Bitcoin passion, you don't even get. You're not that. I'm going to throw out your resume. And they're like on top of the content creation. Like they're on top of the education. I gotta say. I mean, I'm an advisor, so disclaimer. I don't even know. But I've been. Swan just, I don't know. They've taken over what I think of as a Bitcoin company in my mind.
They did great community outreach. Their community outreach was incredible. Also, Kaz, were there any other stories you wanted to talk about? Anything that was left out you thought was important?
No, I think we covered the news. We did a pretty good job.
All right, cool. All right, Reed, you're next.
Oh, thank you for having me on. You can, if you can reach me at Twitter at ReedWomack. And I run customer support for Swan. So if you ever have issues with your account, DM me right into support and I'll be the one answering it. So yeah, thank you for having me on.
Of course. Guy Swan, you got the last word.
All right. Yeah, just if you don't want to play a rigged game, be a part of the one game that is provably not rigged. Like that's Bitcoin. Learn all about it, hear about a third of the pieces that are on the Swan Bitcoin blog and every other great piece written in the Bitcoin space at Bitcoin Audible. That's my pod. And also Shitcoin Insider. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at either one of those, Bitcoin Audible, Shitcoin Insider, or the Crypto Economy. You just search Guy Swan. That's probably the easier thing to search.
All right, dudes, we're making it. We're ending this right now. We got 30 seconds to go before we get kicked off. I'm Adam Meister, the BitcoinMeister, Disrupt Meister, best guest in the space every freaking Friday. Thank you guys for being on. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. We will see you soon. Bitcoin to the moon. What a wild time to be alive. Golden age. Thank you, everybody. See ya.
Good chat, guys.